Hey everyone, welcome to our updates on what we've been doing at the AWS SIG. First, we'll do some speaker introductions.
So I'm Clare Ligouri. I work on the AWS containers team, and I'm one of the co-leads for the AWS SIG and Spinnaker.
Hi, I'm Allie Stanko, and I'm work for Amazon ECS, and I'm also one of the core contributors to the Amazon ECS provider.
I'm Hebebrand. I work at Netflix on the Spinnaker team, and I am standing in for Jayers as a temp SIG lead while he is out having a new baby.
Awesome. And I'm Akshay Dayal. I'm a product manager at Armory. So today we'll first talk very briefly about what we do at the SIG. We'll go over some highlights from 2020 that I think those of you who have not been following would love to learn about, and then talk about some of the upcoming work that we are looking into. And specifically for the 2020 highlights, we have some great updates with regards to ECS support with Spinnaker, Lambda, launch templates, code builds, the AWS Secrets Manager, as well as improved documentation. And for upcoming feature work, we have great stuff planned for ECS, EC2, and dynamic accounts. And our first bit about our SIG, our first meeting was in July of last year, so we haven't been around for too long. And what we do in the SIG meetings is we get input from the community, whether it's community members coming to the SIG meetings and talking about their pain points or looking at GitHub issues. And we plan and discuss upcoming changes for improving Spinnaker support for AWS. And the other cool thing we do in the SIG meetings is we demo upcoming features. So if you want to get a preview of what's going to be out soon, I would recommend joining us and having a sneak peek at those. And we meet every third Wednesday of the month at 9:30 a.m. PST. And you can find us on OSS Slack at SIG-AWS.
Okay, so since last year's summit, the Amazon ECS provider has a couple major additions that we'd like to highlight. So near the end of last year, we added support for multiple load balancers. So you can now route multiple load balancers to a single ECS service. Shortly after that, we made some improvements to the caching logic for load balancer targets. So verifying the health of your service now takes significantly fewer calls to Elastic load balancing. So this reduces the amount of rate limiting errors some folks were seeing in larger accounts. We also added support for gating deployments on container health checks. So this means that if you're not using a load balancer, you can use a programmatic health check to determine whether your deployment was a success, versus just verifying whether or not the tasks are running. We also added some previously missing load balancer views in Deck. So load balancers used for your Amazon ECS services can now be viewed in the UI. And finally, we just added integration tests and functional UI tests for the Amazon ECS provider. So now every pull request on Deck or Cloud Driver runs additional verification that ECS features are working as intended.
Another highlight is a plugin that was developed to improve integration with AWS Lambda. This includes handling traffic shaping, as well as new views for the trigger and deployment stage. If you're interested in this plugin, a link is provided where you can go. And there are going to be more updates that will be coming for this plugin over the course of the next few months.
One of the main highlights from this year for EC2 is the addition of support for launch templates. So currently we support launch configurations, and launch templates are the successor of launch configurations. So that means that any new feature that AWS adds for instance configuration from this point forward will only be added to launch templates. And so now that we have added that support, it unlocks a lot of new capabilities that we can have for ASGs, for our EC2 ASGs. And along with launch template support, we've also released the first two launch template supported features, which is IPv6 and IMDSC2. So you can now create or modify a server group that opts all of its instances into these new features. Most of this is available now, but for 100% of these features, those will be available in the next release.
And another addition to Spinnaker since the last Spinnaker Summit was AWS Code Build support. So you can now plug in AWS Code Build with fully managed builds running on AWS into your Spinnaker pipelines. There's two ways to do that. You can either trigger your code build builds directly from your source code provider, like on a push to GitHub, and then you can actually trigger your Spinnaker pipelines once that code build is done and successful, and then you can use the artifacts from that build later on in your pipeline and deploy them out to your services. Or you can directly plug code build into your pipeline as a step in your pipeline. So once your pipeline gets triggered, for example, from a push to GitHub, you can automatically have your pipeline run a build and code build and then move forward with the artifact from that build once it's successful. And then another new contribution is support for AWS Secrets Manager. So AWS Secrets Manager is a secure way to store secrets like passwords in AWS. And then you can use those secrets as sort of secret configuration in your pipeline. If you need passwords or anything else in your pipeline configuration or in your Spinnaker configuration, you can use Secrets Manager as a provider in the AWS or in the Spinnaker secrets engine. And then another improvement this year has been documentation, showing you how to easily get started with Spinnaker and install it on AWS. We have this new blog post, and then we also have updates into the main Spinnaker documentation for how to set up an EKS cluster with EKS control, the EKS command line tool, and then how to install Spinnaker onto that new EKS cluster and start deploying out to AWS with Spinnaker.
So from everyone here at the SIG, we really want to give a big shout out to everyone who's contributed. I know Claire, Allison have made some big contributions. So thank you, both of you, as well as everyone else from the AWS team and the open source community. There's an amazing amount of work we've done to improve Spinnaker working on AWS, and I'm hoping next year is going to be the same.
So real quick, some upcoming features we're looking forward to for the Amazon ECS provider. First is support for capacity provider strategies. So this has been a long time coming, so I'm excited to finally see this get worked into the provider. And we're also working on some additional Amazon ECS feature updates, so stay tuned for those.
For some upcoming EC2 features, we are building onto the launch template support by enabling some more features that we now can support and we couldn't before. So one of those is spot instance support, and there's a link to the project proposal where you can get a lot more details about that. And some other features for your ASGs are multiple instance types and spot allocation strategies. So we're really excited about these because we weren't able to support them on launch configurations, and now with launch templates, we'll be able to add some more exciting features.
And finally, one of the other exciting things coming up soon is support for dynamic accounts, which will allow Spinnaker to add AWS accounts dynamically from an external source without having to restart Cloud Driver. So this is going to make managing and scaling up Spinnaker on AWS much easier. And if you want, you can go to that GitHub URL to actually look at the plugin and try using it. And if you want more information, you can also check out the RFC linked below. This is supposed to be completed late October, early November, which is around now. So look forward to seeing it and using it. And just a reminder, you can find us in open source Spinnaker Slack at sig-AWS. We meet every third Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. PST. If you go to our Slack channel, you'll see the meeting invite at the topic. And we do regularly post reminders when we do have SIG meetings, so look out for those as well. Thank you. So we can now move on to any questions that people have.